It was a calm evening, the kind where nothing unusual was supposed to unfold, but everything changed that night. I was slumped on the couch, flipping through TV channels without much focus, when my stepmom, Lisa, entered the room. I'd never given her much thought before. Sure, she was stunning, long dark hair, deep brown eyes, and a figure that turned heads, but she was my father's wife, not someone I'd ever imagined noticing in that way. Yet on this particular evening, something felt different. There was an unspoken tension in the air, something I couldn't quite identify. Lisa entered, wearing something casual, but the way she looked at me felt anything but ordinary. Her gaze lingered a little too long, making my heart pound in my chest. I tried to shake off the thoughts, reminding myself that this was wrong, she was my stepmother. But there was an unspoken message in her eyes that hinted at more. "Hey, you okay?" she asked, her voice gentle, almost playful. I nodded, doing my best to act unbothered, but I could feel my face heating up. "Yeah, just bored," I mumbled, barely glancing her way. She offered a knowing smile and slid closer, sitting on the arm of the couch, far too near for my comfort. "You've been quiet lately. Is something bothering you?" she asked, her voice full of concern, but her posture hinted at something entirely different. Her hand brushed my shoulder, a touch that might have seemed accidental, but we both knew it wasn't. I shifted uncomfortably, struggling to maintain my composure, but the tension between us was thick, almost suffocating. "No, I'm fine," I lied, avoiding her eyes. She tilted her head, her smile widening slightly, as if she could see right through my facade. "You sure? You can talk to me about anything, you know. I'm here for you." That was when I should have made an excuse, gone to my room, and left this strange encounter behind. But I didn't. Instead, I found myself looking up, meeting her gaze. There was something in the way she looked at me that made me feel like more than just her husband's son, something more dangerous. The next few weeks became a hazy whirlwind. We kept crossing paths, each encounter feeling more charged than the last. A casual touch here, a lingering glance there, words exchanged that seemed to carry hidden meanings. I couldn't quite understand what was happening. I knew it was wrong, but there was an undeniable thrill, a feeling that made me want more. It felt like we were caught in a risky game, one we both understood we shouldn't play, but neither of us wanted to stop. One night, everything came to a head. My dad was away on a business trip, leaving just Lisa and me in the house. The air was thick with unspoken tension. I could feel it every time I passed her in the hallway, every time our eyes met. I tried to distract myself, burying my thoughts in a book, but it was useless. My mind kept drifting back to her, to how she looked at me, to the way she made me feel. As the night dragged on, I decided to head to the kitchen for a snack. I stood by the fridge when I heard footsteps behind me. Turning around, I saw her standing in the doorway, watching me. She stayed silent for a moment, her eyes fixed on mine. "I've been thinking," she said softly, stepping closer. "There's something I need to tell you." My heart pounded faster. I had a sense of what was coming, but I wasn't ready to face it. "What is it?" I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper. She moved even nearer, so close I could feel the warmth radiating from her body. Her hand brushed mine, sending a shockwave through me. "I need you," she murmured, her voice filled with a longing I had never heard before. My mind screamed at me to pull away, to leave, but my body wouldn't listen. I stood there, frozen, as she leaned in, her lips just inches from mine. "Lisa, we can't," I whispered, though my words lacked conviction. She smiled sadly, almost as if she had already accepted what we both knew. "I know it's wrong," she replied, her hand now resting gently on my chest, "but I can't help it. I've felt this way for a long time, and I think you have too." I didn't know how to respond. She was right, there had been something unspoken between us for weeks, maybe even months, but I had buried it, pretending it wasn't real. Standing there with her so close, I could no longer deny the truth. Before I could say another word, her lips met mine, soft, warm, and filled with the same desperation I felt. The kiss was electric, charged with a passion that had been simmering for far too long. For a brief moment I allowed myself to get swept away in her, to lose myself in the heat of it all. But then reality struck me hard, a painful reminder of how wrong this was. I pulled away, stumbling back, my mind racing. "We can't do this," I said, my voice unsteady. "This is madness." She gazed at me, and in her eyes I saw something unexpected: vulnerability. "I know," she replied quietly, "but I can't control how I feel. I've tried, but I can't." I stood there, caught between the intense desire blazing inside me and the painful realization that this could ruin everything: my father, my family, all of it. "I need to think," I said, retreating further. "I need time to figure this out," she nodded, a sadness in her eyes, but she didn't argue. "Take all the time you need," she whispered, "but just know I'll be waiting." The days that followed were agonizing. Every time I saw her, every time our eyes met, the memory of that kiss flooded back. I tried to avoid her, but it was impossible. She was everywhere, in every room, in every conversation. And with each encounter, the temptation only grew stronger. One night, the tension and longing became too much to bear. I found myself standing outside her bedroom door, my heart hammering in my chest. I knew that crossing this threshold would change everything, but I couldn't stop myself. I knocked softly, and a moment later, she opened the door. Her deep brown eyes met mine, her expression unreadable. "Are you sure about this?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. I didn't reply with words. Instead, I stepped inside, closing the door behind me. The rest of the night became a haze of passion, murmured confessions, and stolen moments. It was everything I had craved, everything I had tried to resist. But as dawn broke, reality came crashing back. This wasn't just a brief affair, it was something far more dangerous, something that threatened to tear apart everything I held dear. As I lay beside her, my thoughts spinning, I knew I faced a decision. I could either continue down this path, letting the desire consume me, or walk away and try to salvage what remained of my life before it was too late. But deep down, I knew the truth. I didn't want to walk away. The pull between us was like a blazing fire, impossible to ignore. In that moment, I realized something that chilled me to the core. I was falling for her. In the weeks that followed, our affair continued in secrecy. Each stolen glance, each hidden touch, only stoked the flames between us. We were cautious, making sure no one suspected what was happening. Yet, the very risk made it more thrilling. Every second together felt like a ticking bomb, and we both understood it was only a matter of time before everything would blow apart. And then the moment arrived. My father returned home early from a business trip, catching us in a moment we thought was safe. The expression on his face when he found us will haunt me forever. The shock, the betrayal, the fury, it was all there, etched into his features. He didn't utter a word. He didn't have to. The silence between us was enough to destroy everything. In the days that followed, the fallout was devastating. My father moved out, leaving the home in ruins, both physically and emotionally. Lisa and I tried to pick up the shattered pieces, but it was hopeless. The weight of guilt and shame was too much for us to carry. In the end, we were left broken, our lives upended by the secret we had tried so desperately to keep hidden. Yet even now, after all that has happened, I can't let her go. I can't forget the way she made me feel, the way she looked at me that very first night. The passion between us may have scorched everything to ashes, but it left a mark that I'll carry with me forever. If you found this story as gripping as I did while living it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next.